Today, my child, I want to talk to you about the very thing that you are holding on to very tightly. What's deepest and safest inside the grip that your love and fear have created together to make you who you are today. Not the things you are holding on to loosely, but the things you have let go of, are letting go of, or have brought to me in the honest, imperfect, and sometimes very real way of the truly released. The very specific thing you are holding on to very tightly. The person whose safety you are most afraid to leave in someone else's care. The outcome whose specific and particular form feels like the thing whose not arriving in the specific and particular form that you need would be the most expensive and devastating of all the not arriving in the specific and particular hoped-for forms that are available during this tricky, uncertain, and not yet seen season. The dream's specific and particular content is something you've carried for so long and at such a cost that if it doesn't come true in the exact form you hoped for, it will feel like something more important hasn't come true. That relationship whose unique condition is the thing that the unique interior has been keeping an eye on the most, managing the most carefully, and guarding the most vigilantly. That thing, the very specific and very particular thing that is held most tightly inside the very specific and very particular person who is reading these words. I'm talking to that thing and asking it not to take it from you, not to get rid of it inside the person who is holding it the tightest, not to replace the very specific and very tightly held thing with the terrible pain of losing it in the way that the very specific and very tightly held fear of letting go has been expecting. I'm asking for it because my hands are the best ones to hold what needs to be held most tightly, at the exact moment when it needs to be held most seriously. Being held is based on real love. The thing that is held closest to your heart really is valuable. The real price of releasing is real. And I'm not asking for the most strongly held belief from the person who doesn't see any of that as true. I'm asking from the point of view of someone who knows the most tightly held thing from the inside out, in a way that the person who is holding it most tightly does not and cannot know it from the inside out, from their own specific and limited point of view. Tell me about the thing you're most scared of giving up. That's what this message wants. And I want to spend this message showing you the most specific, honest, personal, and directly aimed at the most specific and particular, most tightly held thing inside the most specific and particular, most tightly held thing, most genuine and most crystal clear person who is reading these words. Why? Giving me the specific and particular most tightly held thing is the most loving, wise, productive, and loyal thing that the specific and particular most tightly held thing can do. The sincerest and fullest words. In the comments, type, "I let go of my tightest grip," and place it in his hands. That should be your statement of the specific and the start of the letting go posture that the first part of the message is asking you to take. If this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also support this ministry through the link below so that other people can get this message at the right time. I'd like to talk about why the grip gets tighter. Because the thing that is held the tightest isn't held that way by accident, or because the person holding it is emotionally attached to it in a way that makes it harder to let go than it actually is. It's held that way because of a unique mix of genuine love, genuine fear, and genuine love. It gets tighter around the thing that is really valuable, because losing the most valuable thing is the most expensive thing that could happen in the life of the person who holds onto it the tightest. and most completely. And the thing that is held onto the tightest is usually the thing that is truly valuable to that person, because losing it would really cost them the most. And the most real risk of losing leads to the tightest grip, because the tightest grip is the most direct and natural way to show love that is directly related to how valuable the thing being held is. If God brought you here, He brought you here on purpose. These videos cost us everything and earn us nothing. Your support is what keeps this mission alive. Every gift, every seed, God honors it. Thank you from our whole hearts. Now, there is a place God is calling you to, a real community of chosen ones, people who pray together, grow together, and carry each other. God says, don't stay on the outside. The link is below. Come home, beloved. First, and most importantly, the tightening of the grip comes from the love that is true and whole. The parent who holds their child the tightest is holding their child the tightest, because the child is the most valuable and loved thing in the world. Not because the parent is too attached, which should have been freed them from as they grew spiritually, but because the child is the most valuable and loved person in that parent's relationship world. And the grip that is most directly related to the sincerity and completeness of the love is the ones that are most genuine and complete, for the most genuine and complete, for the most truly precious and completely loved person. Fear of losing is the second specific and unique reason why people lock their grip tighter. If someone loves something very much, they are most afraid of losing it. This fear lasts the longest, comes back the strongest, and is the most pressing of all their fears. Fear of losing the most valuable thing is the fear that makes people tighten their grip in the most natural and direct way. Because tightening the grip is the most direct and natural way for someone who loves something very much to try to avoid losing it in the most expensive way possible, by using the most direct and immediate way to hold on to it. This fear of losing what is most important to you is not a sign that you have failed spiritually. It is your love's natural way of protecting you. But today, we're waking up from the false idea that self-defense is our right. In the comments below, please say that you have moved from fear to faith. Type, "My peace is anchored in Him." As you do this, remember that even the tightest grip can't protect what His hands can. Let this comment be your active refusal to let worry control things that belong to God. Having lost something really important in the past is the third specific and particular cause of the tightening of the grip. People who have lost something truly precious in their hard and demanding life tend to hold on to the truly precious things they have left with even stronger. This is because the experience of truly losing something precious has taught them that the truly precious thing is a real possibility, not just a theoretical one. When someone has lost something truly valuable in the past, they tend to tighten their grip on the truly valuable things they still have as a protective response. It's not because tightening the grip on the remaining truly precious things is the most truly effective way to stop the truly precious things from happening, but because tightening the grip is the most direct and immediate way to show the specific and particular protective love that the experience of the truly precious thing has made the person feel strongly as being desperately needed. Fourth, the tightening of the grip is caused by doubts about my reliability when it comes to the thing I'm holding on to the most tightly. If someone isn't fully, deeply, and personally convinced that my hands can hold the most valuable and loved thing in the exact way that it needs to be held, that person tends to hold the most valuable and loved thing very tightly, because I don't know if I can trust the most valuable and loved thing. Letting it fall into my hands feels more dangerous than smart. In the comments, his hands are safer than mine when I hold on tight. That should be your statement, that you understand what this part of the message is really saying about why the grip gets tighter and what that tightening really means, about the love that is directly related to how valuable the thing being held is. I'd like to talk about what the tightest grip does to the thing being held the tightest, and to the person holding the thing the tightest. When someone holds something tightly, it doesn't just hold it. It changes both the person holding it and the thing it holds. In a tight grip, there are clear outcomes for both the person holding on and the person being held. As a result, the person who is gripping most tightly may not fully understand the experience of the person who really needs the best holding available right now. The first thing that a tight grip does to its holder is use up the inner resources that that person most needs to be most productive and fruitful in their calling and purpose, as well as make the contribution that they were created to make. The tightest grip needs the most constant, careful, and thorough use of all the available resources inside to keep an eye on, manage, and protect the thing that is being held closely. And spending the most time and energy on keeping an eye on, managing, and protecting the most valuable thing tends to leave the person's interior with the fewest resources for engaging in the most meaningful and fruitful work with their calling. The second thing that the tightest grip does to the holder is stop them from getting the most restful and healing kind of rest that their inner self really needs. For the tightest grip, the holding has to be the most constant and vigilant, even at night, when the person's body really needs the most relaxing and healing release of holding into the hands of the person who holds everything through the night, without having to put in the most constant and vigilant effort of holding. The third specific thing that the tightest grip does to the person holding it is that it can sometimes stop them from truly loving what they are holding. The person with the tightest grip tends to change the quality of the relationship between themselves and the thing they are holding on to, from the most loving, free, and open engagement of someone who loves freely and openly, to the most anxious, managed, and carefully controlled engagement of someone who is constantly and vigilantly watching over, managing, and protecting the thing they are holding on to from the most genuine. For the fourth, specific and particular thing that the tightest grip does to the thing it holds, it sometimes holds it in a way that stops the most naturally growing and flourishing form of its development. The parent who holds on to their child the tightest sometimes keeps them from having the most growth-promoting and character-forming experiences that they need to become the most fully formed, mature, and capable person they were meant to be. The person who holds on to a dream too tightly can sometimes stop it from taking the most creative, innovative, and surprising turn. Letting go of the dream and letting it grow is what makes the life and situation of the person who loves that dream type the most truly amazing. "I trust him more than I trust my grip," was written below. Then that will be your statement that you understand this part of the message about what the tightest grip does to both the person holding on and the person being held. Family, we pour everything into these videos, not for algorithm, not for income, for God and for you. It is your love, your prayers, your seeds of generosity that keep this mission alive. If this prayer moved you today, come and be part of what God is building here. The link is in the description. Join us. And if He leads you to give, know this: even the smallest seed carries the weight of a great harvest in his hands. Thank you. God bless every one of you. I want to talk about Abraham because he is the most specific, relevant, honest, and concrete example of a person in the history of my relationship with my people who was asked to trust me with the thing he was most afraid to give up. Abraham's response to that specific and particular question is the most direct and genuinely instructive account of what it looks like for a real person to trust me with the most tightly held thing. Isaac was the thing that Abraham held on to the tightest in his limited mind. Isaac was the child that the father loved the most, but he was also the child that had been promised. And after a long time of waiting, hoping, and trusting, the outcome did not come in the way that the person who had waited the longest, hoped the most honestly, and trusted the most honestly, had hoped it would. Isaac was the exact living embodiment of the exact promise of the one who had been trusted on the longest and most expensive journey of all. Isaac was the clear proof that they could trust each other. Isaac was the very thing that made the very specific promise of the one who made the promise come true in Abraham's very specific life and situation, as well as in his very specific heart. It's possible to say that Isaac was the most tightly held thing in every complete, fully understandable, and fully justified way. And I asked Isaac, "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. If I ask you whom you love, I want you to understand that it's not just a small part of the instruction. It's an important part of what I'm asking for. I want you to understand that I know the most tightly held thing is the most tightly held precisely because it is the most genuinely loved, and that this asking is the specific and particular asking for the most genuinely loved." Early in the morning, Abraham got up, saddled his donkey, and went with his son Isaac and 2 of his young men. He then got up and went to the place God had told him to go. He cut down the wood for the sacrifice. When Abraham looked up on the 3rd day, he saw the place from afar. Then Abraham told his sons, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship and then come back to you." Abraham put the wood from the sacrifice on his son Isaac. He then grabbed the fire and the knife. They went together then. "My father," Isaac told his dad Abraham, "Here I am, my son." He replied, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" As for the lamb for the sacrifice, Abraham told his son, "God will take care of himself." They went together then. God's will be done. This is the exact word that Abraham spoke at the exact moment of the most difficult and expensive part of his journey of trust that he had been on since the beginning of his calling. God's will be done. Not, "I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm trying to trust." Not, "I'm scared of what this could mean, but I have to do what I was told." God will give you the exact, precise, costly, exact, and particular from the very middle of the very expensive and very demanding time. A statement of trust in the one who provides the lamb for the sacrifice at the exact moment when it will cost the most and be the hardest to meet. The ram was already there, caught in a thicket by its horns, before Abraham did the most difficult and expensive thing that trusting me with the most important thing meant Abraham had to do. There was already the ram. I was ready for the most expensive and difficult moment of letting go of a tightly held thing before Abraham got there. God provided for Abraham, and he will provide for me, should be written in the comments. What this part of the message has been saying about the specific, concrete, and personally costly example of the person who was asked to trust the person who asks for the most tightly held thing with the most tightly held thing should be your declaration of getting that part of the message, and who discovered in trusting that person who wants the most important thing, and who discovered in trusting that person who provides the lamb for the sacrifice at the very specific and very particular time when trusting is most truly required. If this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also support this ministry through the link below so that other people can get this message at the right time. With something held very tightly, I want to talk about what my hands can really do. Because the person who is being asked to trust me with the most tightly held thing needs to have the most accurate and detailed knowledge of what my hands can do with that thing. Another reason why the thing that is held most tightly is held the tightest is because the person holding it the tightest has the least accurate idea of what my hands can actually do with that thing. The most honestly uncertain account that makes me feel the most honestly anxious and the most honestly protective grip. As the most honestly protective grip, as the most honestly uncertain about what my hands can actually do with the thing that is held most tightly. My hands can hold that tightest thing with the most complete, specific, continuous, purposeful, and loving grip possible for holding the tightest thing. The holding that is closest to the most tightly held thing in terms of the dimensions of the most tightly held thing that are easiest to see and get to from the point of view of the person holding it the tightest. This holding is closest to the most tightly held thing in every dimension of that thing's full reality at the same time. These dimensions include the visible and the invisible, the immediate and the long arc, the dimensions that directly involve the most tightly held thing, and the dimensions that involve the specific and particular other people, situations, and people whose lives and conditions are truly interwoven with the full reality of the most tightly held thing. Things that are held very tight. As tightly as something is held, it can't be fully traced from the inside view of the specific and limited point of view. My hands can reach into the tightest things in dimensions that the specific and particular hands of the specific and particular person who loves the most tightly held things the most deeply and completely cannot reach. They can also work in those dimensions in ways that the specific and particular person's hands cannot most deeply and lovingly work in those dimensions. The parent whose hands are closest to the child can't reach into the child's body and work in the exact same ways that my hands can. The parent's hands are involved in the outside parts of the child's life and situation, and the parent's love for the child works in the specific areas of the child's life where the parent's presence and love are most felt and that are more directly affected by the child. Also, my hands work on the child's life and situation on the inside, and my love for the child affects the child's spirit in ways that a parent's hands, no matter how tightly they hold the child and how much they love them, can't. In the comments, type, "What I can't reach with my hands, God can reach with His." Let that be your statement that you understand this part of the message about what my hands can do with the thing that someone holding it very tightly is most afraid to trust my hands with. In this talk, I want to talk about what letting go of the most tightly held thing really looks like in the real life of a real person, in the real situation, with the real, most tightly held thing. because someone is most likely to trust me with their most deeply held belief when they have a clear picture of what letting go of that belief actually looks like in the real world, in a way that is both accurate and useful. Letting go of a deeply held belief does not mean letting go of it all at once in a dramatic act that makes the person experiencing it immediately feel better. The letting go of the most tightly held thing usually looks like the specific, real, and sometimes very expensive choice made in the specific, real interior of the specific, real person in the specific, real moment to loosen the specific, real grip on the specific, real most tightly held thing by the specific, real degree that is most truly available to the specific, real person in the specific, genuine moment, and to place what is loosened into my hands in the specific, real act of the letting go. Letting go is a practice, not a single state that can be reached. Before you close this, I want you to know something. On the other side of that link in the description, there are people who have been praying for someone like you to arrive. A community of chosen ones, God lovers, people who carry each other, people who do not give up. Come and find your place among them. And if something inside you says give, honor that. That voice is God. Your support makes this mission possible, and He will not forget what you do in faith. When someone lets go of the most tightly held thing in its purest and most complete form at that very moment, they often find that the most tightly held thing is reached for again in the next conversation, piece of news, behavior from the most tightly held person, or development in the most tightly held situation. This sets off the protective grip of love that is directly proportional to the value of the tightly held thing. Again and again, the practice of letting go means returning to the specific and particular act of loosening the grip on the thing that is being held most tightly and placing what is now loose in my hands. This has to be done as many times as I need to reach back for the thing that is being held most tightly. The fastest and easiest way to let go is to pray specifically for the letting go, and the most tightly held thing must be brought to me by naming it and committing to giving it to me. The prayer of letting go is not the act of being sure that letting go is the right thing to do before the letting go has been truly experienced as the right thing to do. It is the specific, genuine, and sometimes very honest and direct bringing of the most tightly held thing to me with the specific and genuine intention to place it in my hands. It doesn't matter what the specific and genuine person is feeling inside at the specific and genuine moment of the bringing. You can write, "I bring my most loved thing to the most loving God below." Let that be your statement that you understand what this part of the message is saying about what it means to let go of the most important thing in a way that is specific, concrete, and personally costly for the real person in the real situation. I want to talk about the specific fears that keep us from letting go of the most tightly held thing. Because letting go of the most tightly held thing is truly possible when the specific fears that directly stop the letting go are named and dealt with in an honest and specific way. The fears that keep someone from letting go of the most tightly held thing are usually the most specific, persistent, and intense fears that person has, especially if that person loves the most tightly held thing the most honestly and completely. Before letting go of something very strongly held, there is the specific and particular fear that letting go will lead to the loss of that thing in the way that the specific and particular fear of letting go has been expecting as the most likely outcome of the letting go. As far as the fears that stop the releasing go, This is the most immediate and pressing one. People are afraid that letting go of the grip will mean letting go of the safety net that has been keeping them from the most expensive possible loss, and that the most expensive possible loss will happen when the protection that has been stopping it is lifted. The most direct and personally relevant word I can find is what I want to use to talk about this specific fear. It has never been true that putting the most tightly held thing in the hands of the person who loves it the most deeply and completely has protected it from the most expensive possible loss. Having the most tightly held thing in my hands has always been the best way to protect it from the most expensive possible loss. For me, holding the most tightly held thing in my hands has actually protected that thing from the most tightly held thing from the most expensive loss that could happen. Whether the person who truly and completely loves the most tightly held thing has released it into my hands or has been holding on to it the tightest in the person who loves the most. The fact that the most tightly held thing is now in my hands does not mean that it is no longer protected. It takes away the illusion that the person's tightly gripping hands have been protecting me, when in fact my hands have always been the ones protecting me. The second specific and particular fear that keeps someone from letting go of the most tightly held thing is the fear that letting go will mean giving up the most genuine and complete loving response that is available to that person. This fear is usually strongest inside the parent, spouse, or friend who loves the most tightly held person the most sincerely and completely, and who sees the most tightly gripping holding of the most tightly held person as the most sincerely loving response that person can give to the person who loves the most sincerely and completely, the most tightly held person. The most direct and personally relevant word I can find is what I want to use to talk about this specific fear. Giving me the person I hold most tightly is not the same thing as giving up the most loving response that is possible. It's the most loving answer that can be given, because trusting me with the specific and particular most tightly held person is the exact way that trusting me with the specific and particular most tightly held person most honestly and completely shows love for that person. The love that lets go of someone who is being held very tightly is just as loving as the love that holds someone very tightly. Love is the thing that has found the most genuinely capable holdings for the specific and most tightly held person and trusts those holdings with that specific and most tightly held person. In the comments, type, "Releasing is not giving up, it is trusting." That should be your declaration of how specifically and personally you understand what this part of the message is saying about the specific and particular fears that keep you from letting go of the most tightly held thing, and what the most direct and personally relevant response is to those specific and particular fears. If this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also support this ministry through the link below so that other people can get this message at the right time. This is a direct message to the person whose most precious possession is a certain beloved person, a child, spouse, parent, sibling, or friend whose unique condition, choices, or situation is the one thing that the person who loves them the most and completely is most afraid to leave in someone else's hands. Someone who is holding on tightest to the person they love most deeply and completely is probably holding on tightest because losing the person they love most deeply and completely would be the most expensive loss of all possible losses, and the tightest grip on the person they love the most sincerely and completely, is the most direct and natural way for that person to show how much they value that person. I want to say the word that is the clearest and most relevant to me. The person you love the most deeply and completely is mine, before they are theirs. I don't mean that the love you have for them isn't the most genuine and complete love there is in the relationship world of that person who loves them the most genuinely and completely. I mean that my love for the person you love the most genuinely and completely is more complete, more reaching, and more able to reach into the deepest, most shaping and ultimately determining parts of that person's interior than the most genuine and complete love, than the most real and complete love of the most real and complete loving person in the relationship world, of the person you love the most real and complete. I love them more deeply and more completely than you do, and putting them in my hands after being held tightly by you doesn't make my love for them less strong, less present, less strong, or less powerful. That is the same kind of love I have for them. It is just as complete, just as far-reaching, and just as able to reach into the deepest, most shaping parts of their being. They are still loved by me, even though you are holding them tightly. Letting go of them doesn't change how much I love them or how well I love them. It adds the specific and deliberate alignment of the person who loves them the most honestly and completely, with the holdings that are most honestly and completely capable for that person. Enter. The person I love most is loved by God even more below. That should be your statement, that you understand and relate to what this part of the message is saying to the unique person, whose most important thing is a unique person they love. There is someone I want to talk to directly, whose most important thing is a very clear dream, calling, vision, or purpose. The specific and particular thing that the specific and particular person has been carrying in their heart for a long time. Something that has been expensive, difficult, and really needs more than they have right now in order to pursue their specific and particular dream, calling, vision, or purpose, and who's not coming true in the specific and particular way they had hoped for, would feel like their dream, calling, vision, or purpose not coming true. The thing that you are holding most tightly in your heart is still truly yours, because I am asking you to trust me with it. Asking for trust does not mean giving up on a specific calling, vision, or purpose. It is an invitation to the most genuinely productive, most genuinely fruitful, and most genuinely faithful way of pursuing a specific dream, calling, vision, or purpose. That is, the most genuinely released, most genuinely trusted, and most genuinely placed in my hands way of pursuing, rather than the most tightly gripping, most anxiously managing, and most carefully controlling way of pursuing. When I pursue my dream, calling, vision, or purpose with the most genuine sense of freedom, trust, and put in my hands attitude, I tend to be more creative, innovative, and surprised by the specific and unique fruitfulness that my dream, calling, vision, or purpose is most capable of producing. Your calling can't grow as long as it's limited by your anxious need to be in charge. It needs the freedom that can only come from divine holding. Say in the comments that you are available if you are ready to see your deepest vision come to life. Type, "My divine purpose is activated." This should make it clear to the spiritual world that you are no longer the manager, but the faithful pursuer. In the comments, type, "I trust God with my deepest hopes and dreams." This part of the message has been specifically and personally relevant to the person whose most important thing is a specific and particular dream, calling, vision, or purpose. Let that be your declaration of that. What I want to talk about is the exact relationship between the tightest grip and the thing that is really being held the tightest. This is because the tightest grip affects both the person holding the thing and the thing that is being held. And what happens to the thing that is held firmly in the hand isn't always the most productive and flourishing way for that thing to grow, become, and express what it was truly made to be, do, and contribute to its own world, and the people it was truly made to contribute to. Things that are held very tightly sometimes turn into what they are held to be instead of what they were really made to be. When a parent holds a child very tightly, the child may develop in the direction of what the parent's tightest grip makes the child into, rather than what that child was most naturally made to become in the most growth-promoting and character-forming way possible. The dream that is held tightest by the kindest and most caring person may sometimes change into what that kindest and most caring person imagines it to be, rather than what that dream was really meant to become in the most creative, innovative, and surprising way possible. Giving me the thing that is being held the tightest is not only the most loving thing that can be done for the person holding it the tightest, but it is also the most loving thing that can be done for the thing that is being held the tightest. For the truly character-building, truly creative, truly innovative, and truly surprising way that the most tightly held thing grows, changes, and expresses what it was most genuinely made to be and do. The thing I love can become what God made it to be when I let go of it. Type that in the comments. Make that your statement about how specifically and personally you understand what this part of the message is saying about the relationship between the tightest grip and the thing that is really being held the tightest. Dear God lover, thank you for praying with us today. But I want you to know, this was not just a video. This was an appointment. God arranged this moment, and He is arranging the next one too, inside a community of people who walk just like you walk, believe just like you believe, and refuse to do this life alone. Find the link in the description and come home. Your presence matters here, and your support, whatever size, keeps this voice alive for thousands more who are still searching. God bless you. I want to give you something useful and specific that you can use in the days to come, because trusting me with the most important thing is most realistic when it takes specific and daily forms, rather than just a vague intention to trust me more with the most important thing. The latter doesn't usually lead to the most realistic and specific form of trusting me with the most important thing in the specific, concrete, and personally costly action of a real person in the specific, concrete, and personally costly situation. A trusting relationship with the most tightly held thing is built and kept up through specific daily practices that work together to create the inside conditions for the most real and specific kind of trusting relationship with the most tightly held thing to be possible. To trust me with the most tightly held thing, the first thing I do every day is the morning release. This is the deliberate and specific choice I make in the early hours of the specific and particular day, before the specific and particular day's demands and news about the specific and particular most tightly held thing have had a chance to put the most pressure on it, to name the specific and particular most tightly held thing, and place it in my hands in the specific and genuine act of the morning release. Not the spectacular, permanent, and once and for all letting go that breaks the tightest grip in one morning action. The specific, daily, genuine, and sometimes very honest and direct act of naming the most tightly held thing and putting it into my hands in the specific and genuine act of the morning letting go. The second daily practice for trusting myself with the most tightly held thing is the midday returning. This means consciously noticing how the specific and particular morning's news, conversations, and events tend to cause the returning of the grip around the most tightly held thing, as well as the specific and particular ways that the specific and particular day tends to produce the returning of the grip around the most tightly held thing. It also means returning to the loosening of the grip around the most tightly held thing and placing the loosened grip into my hands in a way that is gentle and doesn't condemn. The third thing I do every day to help you trust me with the most important thing I hold on to is to be thankful for the proof that I am holding on to it. I do this by choosing to notice one specific thing about the thing I am holding on to, which is proof that I am holding on to it at that very moment, that very day. Not the most dramatic, conclusive, and complete proof of my deepest worries being put to rest, but the specific, small, and sometimes very quiet and subtle proof of The fourth daily practice for trusting me with the most tightly held thing is evening committing. This means choosing the specific and particular most tightly held thing to be in my hands for the specific and particular night's hours, before the specific and particular night's hours of the most truly restorative and most truly restoring rest. I do this with the full and genuine trust that my holding of the specific and particular most tightly held thing through the specific and particular night's hours is as complete, specific, continuous, purposeful, and loving as my holding of the specific and particular type. Every day, I choose to trust him with my most precious thing. Someone wrote, that should be your promise to commit to the specific, daily, in the real world, personally relevant practices that build and maintain the most genuine and specific form of trusting me with the most tightly held thing in the specific, concrete, personally costly action of the real person and the real situation. If this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also support this ministry through the link below so that other people can get this message at the right time. I want to show you what opens up in the life of a certain person when they let go of the thing they hold on to the most tightly. Because the person who is being asked to trust me with the most closely held thing has the most accurate and detailed account of what becomes available in their life when they give me the most closely held thing. When the most tightly held thing is finally let go of, the first thing that becomes available is the specific and real rest of the person who has let go of the most consuming of the available inner burdens. The thing that is held in the tightest grip uses up the most of the available interior resources. It takes the most constant and careful monitoring, management, and protection of the thing that is held in the tightest grip. The person who releases the most tightly held thing into my hands experiences the specific and genuine rest of the person who has let go of the most consuming of the available inner burdens. They experience the specific and genuine rest of the person who has found the most genuinely capable of the available holdings for the most genuinely capable of the available holdings for the most tightly held thing, and who has trusted the most tightly held thing. When the most tightly held thing is truly released into my hands, The second thing that becomes available is the specific and genuine presence of the person who is no longer primarily concerned with monitoring, managing, and protecting the most tightly held thing. This person is therefore most genuinely available for the most genuine, direct, and present engagement with the specific and particular people and moments that make up the specific and particular life of the specific and particular person in the specific and particular present moment. The third thing that becomes available when the most tightly held thing is actually released into my hands is the most genuine, direct, and present engagement with me that the person who releases the most tightly held thing into my hands makes available in their own unique interior. The person who gave me the thing they were holding on to the most tightly is usually the most genuine, direct, and present with me in the form of the most intimate, personal, and direct encounter between the specific and particular interior of the specific and particular person and the person who holds what was truly given to me. The fourth thing that becomes available when the thing that is being held most tightly is actually released into my hands is the most surprising, creative, and innovative way that the thing that is being held most tightly changes and grows in the way that my holding of the thing that is being held most tightly can change and grow when it is not limited by the person holding the thing that is being held most tightly, gripping, managing, and carefully controlling it. Feel free to write, "When I let go, God does what he can do," below. Let that be your statement that you hold a clear vision and are personally connected to what this part of the message is saying about what becomes available in the life of a specific person when the most tightly held thing is truly released into their hands. Right now, I want to talk directly about the specific situations of the specific people who are reading this message. To be honest, trusting me with the most important thing is most meaningful and immediate when it is directed at the specific and particular most important thing in the specific and particular interior of the specific and particular person, rather than being talked about in broad, general terms that apply to all specific and particular most important things in the full range of the specific and particular interior. To the parent who is holding on tight to their unique child, whose unique condition, choices, or situation they are most afraid to leave in the hands of someone else, I say, your child is mine before your child is yours, and my love for your child is deeper, more complete, and more able to shape and determine your child's innermost being than the most genuine and complete love. I want you to give me your child, not because I need to let go of your love for your child before I can hold your child, but because giving your child over to me is the clearest, most honest, and specific way for you to show that you trust me to hold your child at that very moment. If your dream, calling, vision, or purpose doesn't come true in the way you want it to, it will feel like the biggest disappointment of your life. I want you to know that the dream, calling, vision, or purpose you are holding on to so tightly is mine before it is yours. I put it in you for the exact reason that the specific and particular dream, calling, vision, or purpose was put in you to serve the specific and particular people that the specific and particular dream. Give me the dream, the calling, the vision, or the driving force, not because releasing means giving up a specific calling or purpose, but because releasing into my hands is the clearest, simplest, and most honest way for you to show that you trust me to hold that calling or purpose at that exact moment. I say that the relationship is mine before it is yours to the person who is holding on tightest to the specific and particular relationship, whose specific and particular condition is the thing that the specific and particular interior has been watching over and careful managing and protecting the most. And my love for each person in the relationship is deeper, more complete, and more able to shape and determine the most important parts of each person's innermost being than the most genuine love. Let me take care of the relationship, not because letting go means giving up on the most loving relationship, but because putting the relationship in my hands is the clearest, most direct, and most honest way for you to show that you trust me to hold it in my hands at that very moment. Please write in the comments, I give God's loving care of the people I love the most. Let that be your declaration that the specific and personally relevant and directly aimed letting go of the specific and particular most tightly held people, things and situations in the specific and particular being who is reading these words. Now I want to talk directly about the lies that have been stopping the most tightly held thing from coming out. Because you can truly trust me with the most private matter when the specific lies that directly stop the release are named and dealt with directly and honestly with the specific truth that is more reliable and correct than the specific lies. To the lie that says letting go of the most tightly held thing will lead to losing it in the most expensive way possible, I say that my holding of the most tightly held thing has always been to protect it from the most expensive way possible to lose it. And my holding of the most tightly held thing has been the most effective way to protect that thing from the most expensive ways to lose it. Although the specific person may have let go of the most tightly held thing, that does not mean that the protection is no longer there. It takes away the illusion of safety. I disagree with the lie that says giving up the most tightly held thing means giving up the most loving response that is possible. Giving up the most tightly held thing into my hands does not mean giving up the most loving response that is possible. It is the response of love that has found the most genuinely capable holding for the most tightly held thing, and trusts the most genuinely capable holding with the most tightly held thing. To the lie that says letting go of the most tightly held thing is too soon, because the situation hasn't reached the level of resolution or clarity that would make letting go safe. I say that letting go of the most tightly held thing is most specifically and most genuinely needed precisely when it's most genuinely and urgently requiring the most capable holding available urgency, not at the exact times when there will be the most complete and real resolution and clarity, which would make. The ram was already in the thicket when Abraham got to the spot where the most expensive and difficult things were released. Before the specific person gets to the specific place of the most truly expensive and truly demanding of the releasing moments, my provision for those moments is already there. The lie that says letting go of the most tightly held thing is beyond the specific and particular ability of the specific and particular person who loves the most tightly held thing, the most honestly and completely, is false. I say that letting go of the most tightly held thing is not beyond the specific and particular ability of that person. It's not possible for that person to do it by themselves. They need the help of the person who receives what is really brought, works with what is really brought, and holds what is really given to them. In contrast, the person who receives, works with, and holds what is truly placed in his hands can also help release something. This is within the specific and particular abilities of the person who loves the most tightly held thing, the most honestly and completely. I want to ask you to trust me with the thing you are most afraid to let go of. This is for the specific person holding the specific thing most tightly in the specific interior of the specific moment. The way my hands are held is more capable, complete, continuous, purposeful, and loving than the way the hands of the one person who loves the tightly held thing the most deeply and completely are held. The releasing into my hands is the most loving, wise, productive, and trustworthy thing that is available at this very moment when I truly need the most skilled holding that is possible. In the comments, type, "Every fear about letting go falls before his faithfulness." That should be your statement that the specific truth, which is more authoritative and ultimately true, is taking on the specific lies that have been stopping the release of the most tightly held thing. In this message, I want to take you to a real moment of letting go, not as a future goal that will be carried out once the specific and particular most tightly held thing has been sufficiently resolved, clarified, or settled to make the letting go feel safe, but as the specific and present, real and personally aimed letting go of the specific and particular most tightly held thing in the specific and particular interior of the specific and particular person who is reading these words in the specific and genuine moment of actually interacting with what this message is sent. I want you to name, just to yourself and to me, the very thing that is closest to your heart right now. Not everything you have in your hands. The very specific and very tightly held thing. The most valuable, loved, and irreplaceable thing inside the person you are right now. Of all the things that can be released, the one that feels the most dangerous, expensive, and really needing more than the person has now is the one that I am releasing. Just call it that to me and you. Now, begin to loosen your hold on the specific and particular thing you are holding on to by the specific and particular degree that is most available to you at that very moment. Not the dramatic, complete, and permanently resolved loosening that lets go of the grip all at once and for good. The specific and genuine loosening of the grip by the specific and genuine degree that is most available at the specific and genuine moment, and place what is loosened into my hands in the specific and genuine act of bringing what is genuinely brought to the person who receives what is genuinely brought and works with what is genuinely brought and holds what is genuinely placed into his hands. Listen to what I say at the exact moment the loosened grip is placed in my hands. I receive this, meaning that I accept the specific and genuine loosening of the grip by the exact and genuine degree that was most readily available at the exact and genuine moment it was placed in my hands. This is the person who receives what is genuinely brought. I receive this, and the specific and genuine loosening of the grip by the specific and genuine degree that was most genuinely available creates, in the specific and genuine interior of the specific and genuine person, the specific and genuine person, the specific and genuine start of the specific and genuine rest, that the releasing of the most tightly held thing into my hands most directly and most genuinely creates in the specific and genuine interior. In the comments, type, "I trust God with what I love most," and open my hands. Let that be your declaration of the specific, real, and personally aimed letting go of the specific, real, and tightly held thing inside the specific, real person you are right now. I want to pray over you right now that you can speak a declaration that includes everything we've talked about so far. It is the thing that is held most tightly in your specific interior that I am talking about. I declare that it is held honestly, completely, continuously, specifically, on purpose, and lovingly by the one whose holding is as full, complete, specific, continuous, on purpose, and loving as the character of the one who holds all things. I'm talking about the specific grip that was tightest on the specific thing that was being held most tightly, and I'm talking about the specific degree of loosening of the grip that is actually possible at this very moment. And I declare that letting go of a tight grip is the specific, real, sometimes very small, sometimes very partial, and sometimes very honest, very direct act of trusting me with the specific, particular thing that is being held tightly. As I speak over the specific and particular fear that letting go will mean losing the most tightly held thing. I declare that the protection of the most tightly held thing has always been my holding, not the tightest grip of the specific and particular person who loves the most desperately and completely. I speak over the specific and particular fear that letting go is giving up on the most loving response. And I say that letting go into my hands is the most loving response, the response of love that has found the most capable holding and trusts that holding with the most tightly held thing. Let me speak over the very specific and very held person, and I declare that my love for them is deeper, wider, and more powerful than the love of the most genuine and completely loving person in their relationship world. It can reach into the most deeply shaping and ultimately deciding parts of their being. I speak over their most cherished dream and declare it to be truly mine before it is truly theirs. I put it in that person for the exact reason I put it in them. I speak over the most closely held relationship and say that my love for each and every person involved is deeper and broader than the most genuine and complete love of any person in the relationship world. If God brought you here, He brought you here on purpose. These videos cost us everything and earn us nothing. Your support is what keeps this mission alive. Every gift, every seed, God honors it. Thank you from our whole hearts. Now, there is a place God is calling you to, a real community of chosen ones, people who pray together, grow together, and carry each other. God says, don't stay on the outside. The link is below. Come home, beloved. Over all of this, I want to say one last time, the most important thing about this message. Trust me with the thing you are most afraid to let go of. And my hands are more loving, more capable, more complete, more continuous, more on purpose, and more capable than the hands of the person who loves the most tightly held thing, the most honestly and completely. The releasing into my hands is the most loving, wise, productive, and trustworthy thing that can be done. The ram is already in the thorny area. Before the specific person gets to the specific place of the most truly expensive and truly demanding of the releasing moments, my provision for those moments is already there. Tell me about the thing you're most scared of giving up. As far as I'm concerned, it is in the hands of the most skilled and caring person possible. Feel free to write, Lord, I trust you with the most important thing to me below. That should be your statement of receiving this prayer, your specific, personal, and directly aimed trust in the one who takes what is truly placed in his hands and holds it with the most complete, specific, continuous, purposeful, and loving holding that is possible. We have reached the end of our time together, and I'd like to send you on your way into the daily, specific, and sometimes really costly practice of trusting me with the most deeply held thing inside the person you are. The letting go in the morning, the returning in the middle of the day, the gratitude for the proof of my holding, and the committing in the evening. These specific, concrete, and daily habits, built up over normal and extraordinary days, make the most real and most specific form of trusting me with the most tightly held thing in the specific, concrete, and personally costly action of the real person in the real situation with the real most tightly held thing. Know that the ram is in the thicket as you move forward, not the ram of the dramatic, complete, and immediately resolving provision that takes away the specific and particular cost of the releasing completely, but the ram of the specific and particular provision of the one whose provision for the most truly costly and most truly demanding of the releasing moments is already in the specific and particular place before the specific and particular person arrives at the specific and particular place of the most truly costly and most genuinely demanding of the releasing moments. The ram is in the brush. I already have a plan in place. Tell me about the thing you're most scared of giving up. I get it. I have it. And my grip on it is stronger, more complete, more continuous, more purposeful, and more loving than anything that the most genuinely and completely loving person has been able to give me. As your last sentence, type, "I trust God with the thing I fear losing the most" in the comments. Let that be the statement you carry with you from this experience into the days, hours, and practice of putting your most precious trust in the person who takes it, holds it, and works with it. If this message has helped you find your way, made you stronger, or seen your path more clearly, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also support this ministry through the link below so that other people can get this message at the right time.